What's up, quarterback fans, college football fans? Welcome to another QB Spotlight video, YouTube episode, podcast, wherever you are getting this information. We thank you for tuning it in. And again, this is a place where we talk all things quarterback, just a big quarterback hub. And today we got another special guest, Beau Allen, quarterback at Georgia Southern. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that Beau's been through, and kind of he's going to give us some insights to stuff. But Beau, before we get into the thick and things and the weeds and whatnot, I always like starting the show to let coaches or quarterbacks, whoever we have on, let the listeners know like what your schedule looks like right now, just because you'll have such an interesting schedule because you're always so busy. So We're recording this like a week before camp starts. So maybe give us some insight, like what like the summer workouts kind of look like.
Yeah. So this whole past month in July, what we've been doing is we've had an in the weight room workout on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Tuesday and Thursday, we've kind of have like as much as you can probably do without pads on. It's just player-led practices that we go out there in just our jerseys and get some work in, only about an hour or so, hour and 15 minutes. And so we do that. We throw in our own when we can, and maybe might have a meeting here and there. But that's what our schedule has been like in July, and we're starting to amp up and have a little bit more meetings rolling into the first week of camp coming up here next week.
So with June, July, obviously this is the off season. What does like your specific schedule look like? Like do you have some stuff, like take us through like a day when you wake up, like what's your routine, or what do you do on your own? Like kind of take us through a typical day.
Yeah. So as my typical day, I like to read the Bible I like to read some different kind of books throughout the week. So I do a little bit of reading mainly in the morning, but so on Monday, for example, and my lift is at 11 a.m. And oftentimes we may meet before or meet after to go over what plays we're going to run for the following practice on Tuesday. So we may have that meeting before our lift or after our lift. And my lift is with all the skill positions, with the quarterbacks, wide receivers, defensive backs. And we have our lift then. Then oftentimes in the summer, like I actually just finished up my last summer class of the summer, so I was spending some time doing that. But oftentimes you have quite a bit of free time after that, depending on if you have a meeting, or some positions may meet in the morning, some may meet in the afternoon. But that's what and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is pretty on a pretty similar schedule each day. And on Tuesdays we have our kind of our practice-ish, if you would call it that, is right around 8. We have a walkthrough it starts at 8, and we're on the field out there for an hour and 15 minutes, and we may get some extra throws with some of our guys on our own, or after like the actual true session is over. And then sometimes maybe that afternoon we may watch the film from that practice, or even the following Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. And that's kind of how our schedule rolls throughout the week.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I know even though it's the off season, college athletes still have a very busy schedule. I know it's about to ramp back up once camp starts. So, Beau, man, thanks for jumping on, man. I know you're busy, so thanks for hopping on, and we'll kind of dive into it. But before we kind of continue with the meat and potatoes, let's take us back to high school. Like take us back to kind of where it started, and then kind of bring us up to speed to where you are now, right? I know you went to Kentucky out of high school, then Tarleton State. Now you're here at Georgia Southern. So kind of take us through high school, the recruiting process, when you figured out like, man, I'm a pretty good ball player. I'm getting recruited, and then what led you to Kentucky, and then kind of where you are right now.
Yeah, so I'd say to start it off all the way, my freshman year of high school, I started actually playing about halfway through my freshman year, and had a good year. We lost earlier than what we wanted, but I was excited. I really started to love football. I really started to feel like I wanted to pursue this more than I was playing. I played basketball up to my junior year of high school, but kind of my love and or my increased love and respect for football was the reason why I stopped playing baseball in the summers. And that was the first year I stopped playing baseball, was my freshman year of high school. And then I remember it was spring practice in Kentucky. We're allowed to have spring practice. I know in a bunch of states they are, but some they aren't. And there was a coach from Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and they came and offered me in one of our spring practices. And that was at the time like the only actual interest. I mean, I went to camps, like I went to regional camps, like Kentucky's camp, Eastern Kentucky's camp, like in high school or middle school even. And so once I had that offer, that kind of opened up my eyes a little bit and really started to amp it up after that. And then later that spring, I got a couple more offers and just continued to work hard. And a lot of that time between my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I believe I needed to gain a lot of weight. I was a real skinny kid my freshman year of high school. So that was a big emphasis for that. And then got to just try to keep on getting better and just keep on increasing my abilities all the way up to my senior year of high school. And in the spring after my junior season, that was when I decided to commit to Kentucky. I took an official visit there, and I took an official visit to Washington State University. And I felt like I knew all I needed to do. I had some great relationships with them at Washington State. That was when Leach was there at the time.
Yep.
But so I decided to go to Kentucky, and obviously I didn't get to play there as much as I did, but I absolutely loved my time there. It was a great decision you made in high school, but I thought it was better to change directions. And after 2 years at Kentucky, I decided that it would be best interest of me to start playing. And I realized with how the transfer portal was at the time, that would be my best interest to go somewhere where I had this opportunity to play for that upcoming year. And that's what I did at Tarleton. We had a great – there's a little bit of loss of love for football that I had at Kentucky, and it had nothing to do with anybody else besides myself. I think I didn't treat I just didn't enjoy it the same way I did when I didn't play I played a little bit, like sparingly as being the backup, but I didn't have the same respect or the same drive that I used to have for football that I did my senior year of high school and even a little bit of my freshman year of college. So getting to Tarleton and getting on the field again, it really struck up a new, not newfound, but another strong piece of love for the game. And I had a time in my life at Tarleton, probably the most fun I've had playing football since high school. And I decided to leave again, but I felt it would be in the best interest of myself and my family to come back up and see what I can do at this level. And I was, by the grace of God, I had an opportunity to come play at Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit. I was trying to explain.
That's perfect. Yeah, I just wanted people to get to kind of know you a little bit, so they kind of get up to speed. And obviously, when you went to Kentucky, and like anyone watching who has played or maybe wants to play in college, like the college football life can be a grind. Not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And so sometimes, like you said, when you're young, like I played in college and was not very successful. My only touchdown was to the other team, Beau. That tells you how good I was. So did not have very much success, but I can relate where you're just like, man, like you just start questioning a little bit and whether you're playing or not. And so I think for everyone watching and listening, like sometimes it's just a process. It's not you don't love the game anymore. It's just like it's relationship with the game, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think one thing if I had to, and more than anything, my struggles with football probably taught me more than any success I ever had in my life. So I'm really honestly probably blessed for it at the end of the day, and happy that kind of struggle happened just in this time of my life and not when I got a wife and children. But
absolutely,
I would say, I mean, the best thing that I that I took away from those times is when you're a backup or when you're not playing, that you still the best thing to do is go about your day, go about your life, go about your work and football or anything you do, that you are the guy and that you're aspiring to be the guy. So you should be acting as if you are going to be that person. You're going to be that starting quarterback. But again, also as a backup quarterback, you never know when you are going to be the guy too.
Right.
So that's your point.
Right.
But
that
was something I would give a whole lot of advice to young quarterbacks going into college.
Yeah. Because it'll hit you in the face, especially when you have your first college camp. I know you're entering camp 3 or 4 maybe for you, but that first college camp, there's no two-a-days. It's a full-day event, right? You have breakfast at 6 a.m. You got treatment, film. I mean, it's a full-day event. So that's something I think every college football player and coach will always be able to share, like that like brotherhood of like, man, camp's coming. Not that it's bad, it's needed. It's just a long grind. So, So take us so you entered the transfer portal from Kentucky. You went to Tarleton State and had a lot of success at Tarleton State. You were the WAC Newcomer Player of the Year, and then you made the decision to go to Georgia Southern, again, in your best interest. What was the biggest difference, before we kind of talk about the inner workings of the transfer portal, if you will? What was the biggest difference in going from Kentucky to Tarleton State as far as, leaving and the reasoning why, and then going from Tarleton State to Georgia Southern? What was the difference between the first time you entered and the second time you entered? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So my first time in the transfer portal, I did it really, I mean, I honestly probably did it right around this time last year. So I did it really at a kind of a unique time with how we were about 2 weeks away from camp, a week away from camp. And so I decided to do that. I felt that there's a couple of different conversations I had that really opened up my mind to be like, I could still do this. And just seeing how the transfer portal was at the time, that this was a possibility that you can go somewhere and play and go about it from there. And so that's what I did. But so during that first time, the transfer portal, it was pretty hectic for about 2 to 3 days because I wanted to get somewhere as quick as possible and get rolling with the team to have my best shot to be able to be on the field. And I think I'm going to try to – I think I entered the portal on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And I try to explain this little timeline, but it's kind of intense. So I actually visited Western Kentucky on that Friday, and they were playing one of those week 0 games. So they were already started camp at the time. And I was really excited about Western Kentucky. I was probably I talked to a lot of Group of 5 schools. That was their main. Like I talked to Toledo, Eastern Michigan. There's schools I talked to at the time. But I was pretty excited about Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
And they offered me out of the portal at that time, and I went to go watch practice. Felt good about it. Me and my mom. That's only about a 2.5 hour drive from my hometown in Lexington. Okay. And I love what they did offensively. As you've seen, like I think I fit me. I can move obviously when needed, but I want to throw the ball a lot. And so me and my mom were actually driving back from Bowling Green. We felt pretty good about. I was excited about it. I think I was Jarrett Day. He was there at the time. Austin Reed, obviously seen what the success he's had this year, and I was excited to go there and just be able to compete with those guys and be the best quarterback I could be. And me and my parents were actually driving back, or me and my mom were driving back to Lexington. And like at that time, there'd be calls from all different coaches from different levels being able to talk. And I got a call from it was Tarleton State's offensive line coach at the time. And so I started talking to him to start understanding the situation. And one big reason why I enjoy the people at Western Kentucky were great people, but actually, at the time that I transferred at that point, the very first time, what a lot of people wouldn't know this is that there was still a waiver to say that you would be eligible to play at that time. It was at the time, like I talked to people at Kentucky, it felt extremely confident that it was all going to go through. It was more that Kentucky would have to approve it on their side of things, and they were, because there's only certain windows that you can officially at that. The rules have changed a lot within the year.
Right.
Time that wasn't a true like window that you were able to transfer. And at Western, I noticed that they already started camp. They already started camps, and I didn't even know as much of the offense. And I put myself in that own position. I'm not saying I'm not, but so at least at some of the coaches at Western, they act a little bit more worried about possibly just being able to play or being able to have a shot to play that year. And then I get on the phone with some coaches from Tarleton State, and just kind of I learned a little bit about them. I knew that I learned about their school, learned about their offense over the phone, and talked to them. I spent a lot of time on the phone. He's still the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator there named Adam Austin. And I got to talk with the head coach, Todd Witten, multiple times. And again, I was still probably pretty set on going to Western Kentucky still at this time. But I was really between just going to go to Western Kentucky or kind of like prolong this option of seeing what Tarleton could possibly be for me. And so I came up with a decision. Me and my dad were going to go on a trip to Tarleton. I said it was an official visit at the time. And we took a visit out there that Sunday. So it was just right when we got back. And as crazy as this was, I was like, if I'm going to go there, I'm going to bring enough stuff to live there for the time. So I packed a big old suitcase. And I got there. One thing I didn't know exactly what Tarleton State was all about. So I just wanted to learn as much as I could in terms of like even this football, what kind of players we have on our team, but exactly everything about the offense we run. And I went there and I realized this in relation to Kentucky or Western Kentucky, and for example, the football was a lot better than I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought the football was a lot better than what a lot of people would have given credit for at the time of what people I realized. And I thought my opportunity was there. I was going to be able to be there for day one of camp, be able to practice with as much as I needed to, or I had the same amount of opportunities, and I was excited about that. And I went there. So me and my dad were actually in a hotel, and I said, I think I'm just going to stay here, and I think I'm going to go to school here. And so we did that. Then we started camp right away. And I just kept on working and working. Had great coaches, great teammates, and was able to be the starter at Tarleton during camp, and went on from there.
So on your official visit to Tarleton, you packed a bag just in case, and then when you were in the hotel, you said, "You know what, I'm going to come here," and you just stayed there, and your dad went back.
Yep. Yes. I didn't go home until my parents helped me out a whole lot. I had to stay. I stayed in a dorm for the time. Then I moved to a different place, and I stayed I just walked back and forth from the dorm to the facility, and we could eat around there too. So that's what I wanted to do that just because if I'm going to do this, I need to be here.
Yeah. That speaks to your level of being prepared, honestly. So, in Tarleton State's a program that's been continually getting better on the rise. I think they actually had before you, maybe a few years ago, they had a former Western Kentucky quarterback transfer over. I think Stephen Duncan.
Stephen Duncan.
Yes. Yeah. So, that seems like a good systems, a little pipeline for them to get those quarterbacks at that level to come in. So you go to Tarleton State, you're there for 4-5 months. You're the WAC newcomer of the year, had a great season. I think y'all went maybe like 6-5, had over 500, was over 500. So a good season. And then at what point were you like, okay, I'm going to transfer from here, just go somewhere else? Like, did it hit you in the season? Did it hit you after? Or were you like, man,
after the season, it hit me. Okay. I'd say I went, we played 11 games. I actually got to go home for Thanksgiving, and I was home for Thanksgiving. Me and my family were just talking about it, and it wasn't really anything I thought of before the time. I just wanted to play the best football I could. But I didn't reach out to anybody, but I felt like I had a good enough year, and just hearing from people around me like this, I felt that it'd be something that'd be in the best interest of me and my future, and was what I thought would be the best interest of me and my family. Yeah. And we decided that we were going to go upon that, and so basically that's kind of what it came around. Probably I think it was about 2-3 weeks after the season was when I officially made the decision.
Okay, so then you entered the second time. So the first time you kind of looking for a better situation for you for playing time. The second time you kind of establish yourself like, I'm still the guy. Like, I'm still a good quarterback. Like, I can still sling it. And now you're going to go back to a higher level of football that you think is in the best kind of route for your future. So when you went in the transfer portal, or before we talk about why you went to Georgia Southern, can you maybe give some insight of like the process of the transfer portal? Like, we've had some guys that we train that have gone to the transfer portal. And so, but for people that don't understand the transfer portal, like this, like casual fans maybe who, we probably don't even understand the transfer portal completely, right? It's always evolving and changing. But can you just give like an example and just kind of some insight, like, okay, you hit the portal, your name you get put in, you go to admin, your name gets put in, and then schools can start reaching out to you at what point, when can you talk to schools, kind of like the insights on that level, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So really, I think like it can, a lot of people say it can become scary, but you just got to trust it. And you don't know, your phone may not ring, or you may not get a text or anything like that. But really, during that time, I was just kind of, every couple of days you hear from somebody, or every day or so, and just kind of listen to the new opportunities that could be presented to you. And very a lot like high school, but you only got a month to probably you want to make a decision probably within a month. So I'd say it's very similar to that recruiting process, but you can't do all the same. It's much more business-like. Like, I remember when I took a visit to Western Kentucky, like that first time, it's like I wasn't like, I'm sure the pictures would have been cool, and maybe I wish I did that 10, 15 years from now. But like, on the visit there, I didn't take pictures in the jerseys with the visors on. I was meeting with the coach, understanding what we did about football the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So that thing, and just understanding what is most important to you and in your journey, and what's the most important for you, and what information is the most important to you to get from the coaches calling you. But really, I think it's kind of just like an off season that when you're not at your facility, but still a little mix of high school in there as well, but only for about a month, really.
So when you entered the second time, how quickly did you commit to Georgia Southern, and kind of what was the process that led you to choose them over other schools?
Yeah. So I actually talked with, I actually had an offer from Georgia Southern my first time out of the portal. And then, but I talked to them quite a bit, but I was pretty, again, I really felt like for quite some time I was going to go to Western Kentucky. And so I kind of kept in touch with Coach Ellis for a while throughout the portal, and we just kind of feeling each other out. I was feeling other options. And, but I think right around the last week or first week of January, I believe that I was ready to make a decision and go on with Georgia Southern.
What was the main factor leading you to Georgia Southern? Obviously, they've changed their offense as of late. They throw the ball a ton. They had a great quarterback last year in Kyle Van Trees. Like, did that help the decision? Just like the offense, the success the quarterback has had?
Yes, it did. That definitely, I'd say, like, that opened the door more than ever for just my interest. And then learning more about the coaches and the coaching staff and what kind of people they are also helped out a lot too. And so I'd say, yeah, that's definitely that was a big part into it as well.
Awesome. So when you transferred to Georgia Southern, you've been there for what, like 6 months now or so, 7 months?
Yes,
and something we've talked about off air, and you even expressed on Twitter that as of now you're ineligible for the upcoming season. So can you kind of give us an update on that? And is that something you knew when you were transferring and you were like, this is still the best decision for me?
Yeah. So basically with that, so when I entered the transfer portal, so I entered the transfer portal on December 5th, the second time. And I, at that time, there were about 12 different reasons as why a person in my situation, I was an undergraduate I was an undergraduate and I was transferring for my second time. There's about 12 different reasons or boxes why I could become eligible and go through a process of attaining a waiver. And at the time, a lot of people, it was very feasible. In the past 2 years, 3 years, it's been something that's been pretty doable regarding different situations. And I knew even in the back of my mind, even in that sense, that if this didn't happen, I was still okay with what I was going to go forward with. And on January 11th, and I actually decided to go to Georgia Southern on January 8th. But on January 11th, the NCAA kind of came out with a different ruling, changing those 12 reasons to about 4, which kind of made it quite a bit harder for players in situations like me to do that. But again, at the same time, like I knew that there was a chance, even with the old ruling, that this may not be something doable. So right when I got here, we started kind of right when I got to campus, I had meetings with compliance and all of our coaches on that side of things, and just trying to figure out what the best way forward to go. And we came together. We felt pretty good about our case before that date happened, but a lot of things changed and ended up not working the way that we wanted it to. But again, I got all the opportunity in the world, and this year won't be a year that I'm eligible to play, but I still have years ahead of me, and I think I still have all the opportunity in the world, and I'm excited for it.
That's a great mindset to have, Beau. And like you mentioned, talking about your early times at Kentucky, kind of the up and down times kind of help put you where you are now. So it's just another kind of ride on the roller coaster, if you will. So with that said, with this season being ineligible, are you still able to practice and able to be around? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so everything is the same, except I just can't put pads on game days. So that's everything. In practice, I'm out there. Nothing's different. Just on
right. Game. So like your focus now from like a quarterback development standpoint is like, I got 4 or 5 months to one, help my team get better, but in doing that, like you're going to be getting better, right? So you're just in like a developmental mindset right now, like get it.
Yes.
Because you can still get reps.
One good thing too is like that you can add on is like, playing quarterback during the year when you're throwing. I mean, I still throw obviously, but it's a little bit different when you're not playing on Saturdays and the kind of work you can put in the workouts in the weight room with your agility and stuff. So it's that's something I can take ahead compared to other people down the line as well.
Right. So with that point, can you let's transition a little bit, just because we do a lot of strength conditioning work with quarterbacks and baseball players, football players. So without getting too geeky, can you maybe take us through some of what your like workouts look like on your own, like something you'll be focusing on during this like training few months?
Definitely. Yeah. So like I'd say like on more the side of what I do in terms of like arm, like with my arms and everything is one thing that I kind of keep an eye on is into my freshman season, I had a little bit of a bicep tendonitis, even a little bit of a small, I mean, not a huge tear, but just some small tear in my right bicep tendon. And that caused some pain back then. But really never has became much of a problem at all since then, but something I do keep up with a little bit more, which is kind of like a lot of internal rotation and external rotation and that kind of thing. There's just a lot of, to me, I noticed with the arm care, it's I can even notice if it's not, even if it's not a painful thing, it's just the kind of endurance my arm can have.
Yeah.
Like if I just threw 4 or 5 times a week on the 5th day, it's the same thing as the very first throw on the first day of the week. So I think that just keeping up a good routine, and that can be different for everybody, really.
Right.
I think just deciding what's the best way to have a healthy, fast arm. Just the best ways to keep a healthy and fast arm is hard to kind of explain for everybody, but I think often all the times, no matter what school you're at, your trainer even if they haven't developed with quarterbacks, again, like you said, they probably developed or worked with some baseball players, and the arm care for a baseball player and a quarterback is a very similar routine.
Right. Yeah. The big thing you mentioned, as long as like someone's being intentional about it and trying to build resistance to fatigue, if you will, and just keep that humerus in place, then you're in the right position. Before we kind of finish up with a few of the questions, I do want to go back just real quick to the time at Tarleton State.
Yes.
And can you give us maybe your favorite play or your favorite play in college that sticks out? Maybe just like walk us through it. What was the defense doing? What was the play call? What were you supposed to read? Is there like one play that sticks out?
We had some good ones this year. One thing that probably stick up right to my mind is probably we had honestly, I'll say the one game I'll probably remember for a long time was our very first game that I played at Tarleton State. We were playing Mississippi Valley State, and just after the game, I was so happy because that kind of was like, I knew I made the right decision, but like I was so happy. I was excited to play. We played a pretty good game. We didn't finish many of our drives, but we won by 2 scores. And there was our very first drive of the game, our first play, they actually jumped off sides, and I threw a deep ball, but it was incomplete. And then the second play was a play where I don't know if you've gotten to see some like Wake Forest. It's like a slow play.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
We did a lot of that last year, and sometimes I'll pull out a little bit quicker if I see somebody open. And my receiver, Gabe Douglas, he ran a post route, and I was doing the kind of slow play action with it. And he had made a really good catch. And it was probably a 40, 50-yard gain. And that was our first play from scrimmage on the whole year. It's my first play from scrimmage as starting quarterback. And so that's something that's probably one that I know is first play of the year, but that's out with me just because that's the first time we started the game. And 2-3 years at the time. So it was pretty cool for
that gets some confidence going for sure. Right after that. Are you the type of quarterback that like you want to get hit early in the game? Does that settle your nerves a little bit?
I think definitely would say it does a little bit. I don't know if it's more of like I think like it's not like I don't know if it's the right thing to say it is, but definitely that would help instead of hurting anything, I believe.
Yeah, I get it. You don't want to get hit too hard, but just enough to kind of get you going a little bit. No, I get it. What's some of your pregame routine? Like what's some of your rituals? Do you listen to some music? Do you like a routine you just follow religiously? Take us through a Saturday for you.
And this past year, what I would just like to do, I wasn't really too peculiar about it, but I would always throw. We threw a bunch, but I would go out there just in shorts and stuff. And like this was completely it was me and another quarterback. His name was Alec IU, and it was usually just me and him just kind of playing around. Yeah. And it was not really any coaches out there. We were really just doing our own thing. And that was something that I think kind of made me ready to go. And I kind of enjoyed that. Just we weren't really doing anything specific. Like there wasn't like any throw, like we're going to get a slant here, we're going to get a dig here. Like we weren't doing any of that. Like I think the only thing we actually would do is at the end, we would just throw balls like 40 yards away and throw it as high as we could. Just probably to see what it was. There's one time when we played at Southern Utah, this is where that started. It was the first time I ever played in some actual real elevation. And I could actually tell the ball was actually flying a little bit. Wow. It felt like a little bit more. Yeah. But I forgot the exact elevation of the stadium at Southern Utah. But it was right around the same elevation of like Mile High in Denver. So I was like, I'm going to see if this actually like feels anything. And then me and my buddy just started doing that for all the games just before we went back in and put our pads on and came back out. So again, I wasn't really super peculiar about my routine, but that's something we started to do every game.
Do you listen to any music? Do you have any headphones in before you play?
Yeah, I do it here and there. I don't have some songs I do every time, but sometimes I'll mix from rap to a little bit of country. But but again, not as peculiar as most people probably are.
Everyone's got their own thing. Whatever gets you flowing, gets you flowing. What was besides Tarleton State Stadium? What was your favorite stadium you've played in, excluding the SEC in your time at Kentucky? Like, give us like a FCS like level. Like, what stadium surprised you, or like, man, there's some good fans here? Like, what kind of like was your favorite place to play at last year?
There was like Southern Utah and Utah Tech had some really beautiful backgrounds. Yeah. It's like you can see had some pretty mountains in the background, but it's kind of, I'm trying to think of the best one.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but
oh no, you're fine. I would probably say Southern Utah because it's a small stadium for FCS as well, but they had a really good crowd on their own home side, and it felt they made the game feel huge, and it was a very pretty scenery. It was one of the most beautiful outside stadiums I've ever seen, and it was kind of a unique little way, and they were a good team. It was a good game too. But I'd say Southern Utah, but just kind of the atmosphere around it. It's like I can't think of the name of the actual stadium, but I'm sure if somebody Googled Southern Utah Football Stadium, you can see
they can look it up. Yeah, we'll put a picture on it. It will be all cool and technical and official. But have you been able to watch any or go back on? I know usually on Saturdays you're playing, but have you been able to see like what the Georgia Southern fans look like? Because they have some of the best fans in all of college football, not just like
So I've gotten a whole lot more educated on obviously the past 6 months I've been here. Yeah. But it's been incredible. I think that just some things that they've gotten to do with just how many people support the program, support athletics down here has been a great surprise to me, and has been just great for so many athletes and our coaches. And really excited. I'm excited to actually see it in person up in this fall. I've heard just great things.
Yeah, and they got a really good fans, and the Sun Belt is going to be arguably the best Group of 5 conference coming up. I mean, you got a lot of good quality football, a lot of good quarterbacks too.
Yes.
Really, really good conference. All right, Beau, I'll get you out of here in a second. I promise. I know.
You're all good.
Yeah. I always like to end these podcasts. We usually have, we've had multiple quarterbacks on, multiple college coaches on. So I always like to give you all the floor at the very end and have you all pass along any advice to younger quarterbacks. So any quarterbacks that, is in high school and has a chance at the next level, not some like blue chipper, but some guy who's like, borderline D1, let's call it, like guy that has some talent, he's playing well, but he's like on the fence, if that makes sense. What's some advice you would give to a kid who is 4 or 5 years younger than you right now?
Yeah, I'd say for like the situation you explained is that you got to make, like, let's say again, you're not like maybe a 4 or 5 star guy with a big arm, or you're a little undersized, or whatever that may be. Yeah. But you got to, and this may be a little harder for somebody, but if you want to have the success that your heroes do, you're going to have to work this hard anyways. But you got to kind of make everything a strength for you. Like everything is something, like there's not one thing you're bad at. If that's something like there's like in the film room, you're the best guy in the room. If you're in your footwork, it's locked down. Your knowledge of football, but also just kind of like just continuously work on everything, every single part of the game. Like make everything. Like if some guy in the room has got a whole lot bigger of an arm than you, then that's got to be one of the only things that guy's better than you at. And again, you don't have to pick out another guy by any means, but just continuously work on every single part of your game. And I'd say no matter, again, if you're right when you get to college, you won't be on the depth chart very high, but no matter where you are, even if you're the 2, 3, 4, 5, you got to prepare like you're the one every time, because even if you don't have a shot to play that year, it's going to help you out for years to come.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good word. Beau, before we get you out of here, in your Twitter handle, it says you're a big fan of podcasts. Is that true? Did I see that?
Yeah, I am. I want to create my own by at least December. But
is this the first? Have you been on podcasts before?
It's been maybe a couple, but not many.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'm glad we're helping you get your feet wet. What do you want to? Do you want to be over like quarterbacks? What topic?
Honestly, I won't have a niche. I just want to interview people from all different walks of life and what I believe kind of just listen to stories of different people
Yeah.
that I've reached some and people would like to listen to and to inspire others and to inspire to always keep on going after your dreams and doing that the right way.
Dope, dude. Well, dope, man. Well, Beau, thanks so much for coming on and sharing and opening up to us and kind of giving us some insight on what a Division I quarterback's schedule looks like, what it takes to be a Division I quarterback, and then two, the opening about the different trials and stuff you've had to go through and are overcoming. Before we get you out of here, is there anything else you want to touch on or hop on or give a shout out to before we deuce it?
Dude, but I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to keep on keeping up with the rest of your guests as well too. But thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll have to have you back on. So everyone, thanks for watching. And if you watch this video or listen to the podcast, subscribe, like, all that YouTube podcast jargon, whatever else they say, just give us a like and subscribe. It does help us. And we'll see you next time. Peace.